show. We're still getting a little feedback on the back end.
Huh, that's weird. It's because probably I didn't even have the music playing. You didn't hear no music, did you?
No,
I
we didn't.
was waiting for it.
God damn it. God damn it. I fucking hate this technical shit. This is ancient news.
Well, that's appropriate then.
Yeah.
That's why you had feedback. Yeah, that's right. Damn, Eric. It's like motherfucking Soul Train in here.
Eric's like, Lucy!
Welcome to Ancient News. I was just sitting there narrating on top of no music. You're like, why is this guy fucking pausing so much? Is there something wrong with him? Did he fucking inject
natural.
bleach?
Yeah.
It all sounded so natural. I was like, Joe's really getting the hang of this shit.
No, it's like the music like gives you confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right,
So,
let's
yeah,
just rerun it. Fuck it, let's just rerun it.
Yeah, you might have to run that back for that one more time.
Yeah, for the rest of
Just
us, you've
rerun
been
it from the
jamming on
beginning.
it the whole time.
Let's reintroduce ourselves.
Oh.
My name is Joe.
News so nice, we tell it twice.
Eric, why don't you run down the topics for us?
All right, you guys. Today on Ancient News, we're gonna be covering an update that I feel like it's much needed. A lot of things have happened in the last 2 weeks. We talked last week about the George Floyd murder, and we're gonna discuss a topic that hasn't been getting a lot of attention since this has all happened. That's gonna be the COVID-19. We're gonna segue into our main topic, which is going to be a broad relationship topic. And we're going to fuck around and have a good time.
Okay, that sounds good.
Do it.
What was the first one?
Murder.
All right, so I think
the man was murdered. He got murdered.
Yeah.
all right, so here's the first thing, right? With all of the things that have been happening with the George Floyd murder and how people are going out there to protest and make a point, and also try to see some radical change and also see some systematic change, I think that it's important that we address the risk that everybody is putting themselves in for there to be a surge in the COVID-19. I want to know, first off, I mean, we were going to definitely move into the George Floyd topic because there have been a lot of things that have happened in this week alone with that topic, but I'm just wondering where everybody stands as far as a risk factor goes.
I got a couple opinions on that.
Yeah,
But
this is
Eugene,
open.
go ahead.
Yeah, if the motherfucking coronavirus doesn't have a huge spike, bro, if I do not see a huge spike next week, that shit is fake, dog. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is that simple. If I do not see a spike, I'm talking about globally, bro. If I don't see a spike, it's not real. I don't want to hear it.
I'm pretty sure it's real.
True.
It's something else. If it's not, because like this is it. You know what I'm saying? This is literally the fucking melting pot for viruses right now.
This is the worst of all possibilities. People are in the streets. They're fighting each other. They're huffing toxins. They're huffing tear gas. They're huffing.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I gotta put this point in here while we're right on the center point of it, and I just the liberal hypocrisy of being like, oh, you know, all these protesters at the state capitol, they're not social distancing and shit, and blah 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 blah, and then but our cause, that's like worth it to, like, you know, and so
Yeah, I didn't even have to say it. You guys are both on it. I'm going to sleep. I'll see you guys later.
Yo, real talk though, bro. Like that's I'm aligned on that point, though.
damn, bro, did he really go to sleep?
Somebody else said his piece for him, and he was like, "I'm out."
I'm gone. Peace.
Hey, good enough.
And I'm a fucking liberal, and I'm just like, dude, what?
No, it's pretty crazy, and I mean the fact that you see, you know, and the amount of just commentary that you're getting again out of the media on it, where they're kind of like they're just not mentioning it, and you're like, we've all been locked up for 2.5 months. Like people couldn't go to church, the mosque, synagogue, like you couldn't hang out with your friends in a park. If you weren't wearing a mask, strangers would yell at you sometimes.
Right, bro.
Like threaten you and
Well,
shit. Cops were arresting people for holding hands. Like,
No,
you
that's
know,
totally
if
true.
they were being that fucking serious, if they were being that serious, then they should at least mention more like everyone take the maximum precautions. Like that should be every time they mention this shit, they should just be saying that. Like distance. They should show those stupid fucking diagrams they show on CNN that are like digital, that have like Lego block people almost, and just like arrows.
Yeah,
This far apart. They should be doing that every fucking time if they're taking this seriously. It's super fucking weird.
Well, what's interesting is that it hasn't been followed if you by any means of watching the videos.
Yeah.
But there is some protests where they're like, okay, we're all masked up, we're all social distancing, whatever. But it's just like John says, it has nothing to fucking do with that. You can't keep people cooped up. They're gonna fucking come out.
Yeah.
And it's just like now, while I personally, from my point of view, I'm like, okay, well, what the people are protesting for now is a little bit more serious than like fucking getting a haircut. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still out there. It's still increasing the contact rates and whatever. So it's like you have to decide like, okay, it can't be issue by issue, right? Like either you're staying in or you're not fucking staying in. But don't tell me that your protest is like quote unquote more important than their protest. I don't even agree with those motherfuckers. But it doesn't matter. It has to be, you know, all causes are equal,
Whoa.
right?
Are you saying all protests matter, bitch? Because I don't think.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I know, Joe. I know that's not what you're saying, but that's just.
But that's a really funny phrase,
if
though.
there was a car crash sound, that's what would have played right then. But
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. If you're
No,
marching in the streets for like, you know, not cutting off foreskins or some shit like that, like, I don't give a shit about your cause.
Ah, you anti-Semitic? No, I'm kidding.
whoa, take it easy, Goy. All right. Don't be bashing. Don't be
Oh
bashing.
God.
But yeah, you guys all hit the points that honestly I've been harping on it, because if any of this was taken with any level of seriousness, you know, one, Fauci would be jumping up and down on his fucking pedestal.
I think he already gave all the warnings that a man could possibly give.
No,
You know what I mean?
No, if there's imminent death, if you really, you've taken unprecedented steps. You've forced people into their homes. You forced them to give up their livelihoods. You forced them to drop their businesses. A lot of them will never come back. I don't care what the jobs report says.
Yeah, no, yeah,
That-
but you're not
that-
going to get
Jobs
anybody
report
here.
is wrong in the best of times. Right
Oh, you
now,
talking about the one that just came out yesterday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying. I
Okay,
haven't
so
seen a
why is
jobs-
it wrong? Talk to me.
Jobs report is like all statistics. It's about how you read them and how you interpret the statistics. So when they say X number of people unemployed, it doesn't include this group of people that like a rational person would call unemployed. So a lot of times, and this is just my knowledge of jobs reports before, I will say honestly, I haven't looked at this jobs report, but previously I used to keep up with that when I was in Colorado, and when I was like in and out of work and I was unemployed like a third of the year all the time. I would see, I was like, is everybody fucked or is it just me? Am I unemployable? And a lot of times there's a big portion of society that is called unemployed but not seeking. These are people who are not looking for a job, and what they have been doing in the last 10 years is they just push those people off a cliff. So there's like potentially millions of people that are unemployed and aren't looking for a job and have no intention of looking for a job. They've fallen out of the economy and they're not trying to get back in. They don't give a fuck. there's nothing left for them in our wider economy. They stay drug dealers. They're on welfare. You know, they found something else. They're mooching off of somebody. They're homeless. Like, there's huge striations and classifications, and they fuck with the numbers all the time. And that's how they mess with the jobs report. But, so yeah, we wreck everything because of this imminent death. This thing that all they did was scare the shit out of us for 2.5 months. And they said that nobody was doing enough. And now, the first sign of resistance, and everybody just folds like a fucking deck of cards. Nobody gave any kind of pushback, you know, even to the first protesters, the guys who are protesting to get their businesses back, and yes, to get their hair done. It's a shame that that's how they're known, and that's kind of my point last week. Now everybody's in the same group where our cause is more important than your quarantine, and we all should have been in that same group to begin with. And that's how I feel about it. And, you know, part of me is happy, but it's also with the dark side of these protests and whatever they will mean in the long run, and it doesn't look good to me.
So if everybody's okay with it, I'm just going to follow up with what John was saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, I totally agree with what you're saying. Coming from a medical standpoint, let's say that this thing is real, and let's say that we're all doctors, and let's say that like we all have a general consensus, like, look, this thing's real and it's killing people. Okay. And we get to a point where people that are over our heads, the powers that be, have decided that, you know, we're going to reopen this place. And then you have a national, like almost an international event, something that's significant as George Floyd's murder happen like this. And on top of already reopening and like exposing people to this thing, and people, you know, going out and protesting and really getting in close proximity with each other. At what point, as a doctor, because doctors do this all the time, they have to make decisions like this all the time. At what point are you like, look, I've said everything that I could say. I've done everything that I can do. And so now, if you get it, it's on you.
We should have started there. We should have started there from the
because
beginning.
Right now they've got us in a sense where we're supposed to be like self-governing our own, you know, exposure.
Should have started there. And
is it wrong that we haven't heard anything from Fauci based on the fact that all of the number one, all of the coverage has been on George Floyd's murder and not on the coronavirus anymore? And is it that he's neglecting it, or is he just like, look, I've given you all the tools, here you go?
I just when it comes to certain parts of that, it's like, fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I don't know. Somebody else take it. I'll circle back.
Well, Ben. Well, actually, I'd like to hear your. I'd like to hear what your opinion is based off of that, John.
Oh,
John, is that what you said, John?
Me?
Yeah, I said John. Yeah.
Oh, first off, we should have started there. Second off, the authority of Fauci is, you know, his authority came from people saying that he's an expert and everybody should listen to the experts. My problem isn't with any of the advice given or even with the lockdown. Actually, yeah, I have a big problem with the lockdown, but the hypocrisy of everybody turning immediately as soon as some bigger issue came up. Now, I'm not going to minimize. All right, yes, I am. George Floyd's death is not the world-shaking event that everybody is making it out to be. In the time he was killed, various other people have been killed, not by cops, in the protests. And
Also,
it's also, if your protest is causing more death, what is the point? I was at a Baltimore. It was basically a memorial. It wasn't a protest because the people who showed up there were paying homage to a 16-year-old girl that was caught by a stray bullet. And I think she's like 136 in this city, in a city of less than 600,000, smaller than DC. Hundreds of people die each year. The one protest I did go to, there was some contention because an old timer got up and he said, with the same energy you're protesting Floyd's death, you should protest every black death that happens in this city. And you should acknowledge with the same energy the meaning of each death. It doesn't matter that it was by cops. Each life should be vital. He got booed off stage. They shouted him down and they took away his megaphone.
see, like, what the hell is that? Like, that's oh my god. Dude.
So when I hear
are just so
people,
mad, they think that he's essentially saying like,
no, this is everybody's shining moment. For the same reason I got defriended on Facebook today, the same reason that white people will go at black people that don't have the right opinion. This is just another stunt. If I said Coney 2012, show of hands anyone who remembers that.
Dog, I don't even want to go over that again. Please don't bring that
So
up.
anytime I see big events like this, I go back to Coney. I go back to Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
I go back to these big flim-flams where everybody gets all their fucking balls up. They get so excited, and there's no happy ending. Everyone keeps talking about change. I defy one person to give me one aspect of change that they meaningfully want. And defund the police is not a solution. It's a potential myriad of problems. And even me, I understand what that means. I want to defund the police too, but I'd like something there when they're gone.
Another part of this that is just exceptionally interesting to me, like the substratum of sort of what we're talking about, is that underneath all that, one of the things that's been freaking me out the most was just how quickly, I don't know that I've ever seen in my life a better example of the speed with which human behavior just flipped on a collective global scale, because there have been protests everywhere, right? Across the world. And so it's absolutely insane to see a bunch of people, like, I mean, are we that malleable?
Yep.
Are we that malleable? Like, if it 2 days before that murder, 2 days before that murder, if you told a bunch of people that you were going to go and march through the streets with 1,000 people and you were organizing a protest at that moment against police brutality before the case had happened, and you're just like, yeah, this is what we're going to do, you would have been met with absolute censure on every level. People would have been like, you're fucking crazy. You're going to get everybody killed. Just 2 days before, if you try and have the same protest for people who have been killed, and by the same thing, police, 2 days earlier, if you tried that anywhere else in the world, you would have been fucking arrested eventually. If you're like, I'm getting 1,000 people together, but then 2 days later, it does happen and it is horrible, and there's virtually no pushback. There's not even a lot of like, be careful, we're going to need you to do this when you come out in March. It like wasn't there. It was like someone reached over and flipped a switch, and the very next day everyone was like, no, like it's the same person who would have yelled at you for wearing a mask, for not wearing a mask. Now,
Right. Like, you're wrong, or you're like, do you wear the mask or do you not wear the mask?
They're all the same person.
Yeah, they are. And it's just, but to see human beings just flip over,
Right.
you know, hundreds of millions of people, just like bang.
Yeah, resolves. And
Scary to watch.
Like, do you think it's because of like a resolve that may be like one of those things that's like an underlying like tension, like, you know what I'm saying, greatest sin of America kind of thing that's just always behind everyone's, like, you know what I'm saying,
back of their head.
mind.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say is that it really isn't okay. So like Floyd's death is what's bringing the consciousness or whatever, right?
Right.
But it's not about that. It's about an institution that treats people differently, and you can see it with how the police have reacted, comparing the two different types of protests. Now, the other thing is that this is a much more widespread protest that's resulted in rioting. You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of other actions going on that have fucking nothing to do with the fucking political message. It's just motherfuckers just want to motherfucking do shit. And
that is by nature what these turn into. And that's what people don't understand. People are watching this like it's the first time it happened. I said Occupy because that was my first experience.
Occupy was a fucking joke.
Bro.
It's the same joke. It's the same joke, different marketing team. That's all it is. It's the same fucking joke. Point in time where people were frustrated and didn't have a way of expressing themselves. We had just lost trillions of dollars in 2011. Between 2008 2011, people had lost trillions of dollars, their homes, their livelihoods, everything. Same thing. People were looking for an outlet. Some jackass in Canada publishes a thing, AdSense. Let's all meet at Zuccotti Park, blah, blah, blah. People actually do it. Nobody expects it. Overnight, there's Occupies in New York, Chicago, LA, Florida, Kabul, Cairo, fucking Tunisia. There was an Occupy Madagascar, for fuck's sake. What was a bunch of lemurs? Like, it was the same shit. It's the same shit. And we fall for it because the ultimate end is when everybody's frustrated, they're frustrated for different reasons. They all come together thinking that there will be a solution. When they find out there won't, they disappointedly drudge home. But it changes everything. The years after Occupy have been bitter and mean, and we don't talk to each other. So I don't know what's going to happen after this one. It's going to be what's less talking than violence. And I think that the level of violence of this scares the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
because it's not about George Floyd, and it's not about black people, and it's not about the cops directly. It's about our shit poor institutions, which I jokingly insult. Well, I don't even joke. I just think that the thinkers in the room need to actually talk calmly and show people that there are ways to do this without raising the whole country to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and but the other part about it is that okay, so there's two things, right? Like you got Bowser like painting the street. It's
cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap, but it's also because sorry, somehow I got flipped upside down. So anyway, it's bullshit because it's like, well, okay, Bowser, well, where's the fucking affordable housing and where's the fucking hospital in Southeast that's been needed for over 2 years, you know? And on top of that, it is about institutions, but it's like it's the institutional racism that it's baked in. It's like we were discussing on Thursday that like Malcolm X was talking about how the cops had a knee on some black lady's neck back in fucking, what was it, 67, 68. So,
yeah.
What I want to know, if you're going to go out there and you're going to protest like this, my thing is then fucking show up to vote. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I think it's bigger than just
they're not.
I think it's honestly bigger than the United States.
No.
Because I think it's way bigger than the United States. Because look, like it's not when we're talking about systemic racism, bro. Like black people aren't the only ones that are affected. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at like the South Americas and how that shit's been torn to fucking hell, and you look at you know what I'm saying, certain parts of Africa still, you know what I'm saying? You look at certain parts of Asia, basically everywhere that fucking colonialism touched and bounced is like torn to shit. And those are the states that are still, you know what I'm saying, reigning supreme from there. So it's like even once like black people like rise up and do whatever to get their to get our point across, it's everyone's gonna wake up. So it's like I feel like there's somebody that's like I don't know, it maybe like seem a little conspiracy like, but imagine like there could be somebody who's just in the middle, like that's not on one side or another side, that's not claiming whether like this is going on. They're literally just sparking all this shit going off and just off in the back in the middle, watching everything burn to the ground so they can just claim it. Like fucking Nero in Rome.
I mean, it happens.
All right, look.
That was another thing that happened. At the end of the protests, at the end of the last crisis, all that real estate, everything is dirt cheap. Same thing happened after 1968.
Right.
The interior of America's great cities got burnt out. What happened? 20, 30, 40 years later, you buy it for nothing, you put up a Starbucks.
Let me.
Yeah, my point is don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. God damn it.
The banana in the
No, that's one of my
Let me
favorite movies.
backtrack
That's
to
really
Bennett's
Oh, I love that.
Let me backtrack to Bennett's initial response. What I'm gonna say is based off of that, and Joe's response based off of that is like, look, there are people that are not gonna care out there based off of the fact, and this has some to do with Kwame's response as well, but there are going to be some people out there that just like clearly don't care about what the COVID-19 risk is based off of the fact that they're so fired up about George Floyd's murder. I think that there is obviously a huge reason to be fired up about this. I think that half of the time, with all of this going on, that we've been also hugely irresponsible. I think that, like I said at the beginning of this, I think that there is a need for, I think there is a need for radical change. I also think that you also have to do your part in the systematic effort to make that change. Otherwise, you're just out there yelling. That's me. But
that's also the language of America, dog. Like fucking riots are annual.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when it comes to the protests themselves, we are only one of a few countries that are having protests that are demonstrating this way. I mean, you can pull this up. I want to say it's the Philippines, but they're out there protesting.
They're everywhere.
And they're still contributing to social distancing.
Bro, Syria.
That one blew my mind. I saw
Syria. What?
graffitiing in Syria. I'm like, this has to be some bullshit. Why
Syria?
the fuck why would a guy getting bombed out in Syria care about some fucking some dude here?
Got to be bad.
But look though, look. Don't look at that, but look at this. Look.
Well, John, I would say because his society is no different. The white people are still, the fair-skinned people are still on top.
Hugely
Well,
different.
hold on. Let me finish.
Different.
Let me finish.
Yes, it's hugely different, but if you go around the world, it's always the fucking fair-skinned people that fucking end up being in the aristocracy.
Everybody in Syria is white. They've been in the middle of a civil war for the past 4 years. They are not the same society we are.
But let me finish though. Let me finish because I know you guys.
They're killing everybody everywhere.
Let me
yes.
Let me
I
just
don't disagree
for a second. Let me just finish. Because I know you guys are gonna love this last part. Based off of all of those things, what I've come to notice, especially in the last week alone, is that a lot of young people that are our age that want to be a part of the cause because they're seeing it on the news, they're getting into this. This is what I feel. I can't say this is fact. We're getting into this idea where we're having like a festival. We're having a fucking music festival for George Floyd. all over the nation.
That's not new. That's not new.
Okay, but Eric,
hold on. And on top of that, I'm very nervous about the idea of fading because this has happened time and time and time and time and time and
It's
time
already
again.
gone. It's
And
already
then
gone.
a month from now, people aren't even going to be talking about this anymore.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
it
COVID
depends. It
19.
depends on how bad this gets, bro. It really depends because
Yeah.
this exploded like so fucking fast.
Yes, but
Like
there's
the
no,
target,
there's no,
everyone was talking
there's
about the
no
target.
leaders.
They're
Look,
letting
Where's the
them.
leaders?
They're
Right.
letting
But everyone
them.
was talking about the target, but the fucking police station was what got burned. Like
They
that right
let
there.
them
Like just off
burn
the
it
symbolism.
down.
Off the symbolism alone.
Do you think if they didn't want them to burn it down, they couldn't have stopped them?
That type of shit, like
This is a trap where they let you in halfway and the device doesn't come down until later. Look at the equipment that they have been stocking up since fucking Iraq 2.
yeah, it's wild.
It's tank shit. It's militarized shit. They're getting ready to play with their toys. There are 3 drone planes that fly over my city any day during the day. For 90% of the day, we are totally tracked. They can
Honestly,
see when I go to the bathroom, to the hooker, to the bathroom again. And like everything that they do, the drones are being used. They're going to start using, because COVID, they already want to track you to see what temperature you are. Now they want to track you to see, were you involved in this? Were you involved in that? It's all opening this door to some weird shit. And it was already a door that was opening. Somebody just kicked it.
been open. Yeah, like I'm about to say, man, like that whole idea of surveillance has been open though. Like that's why I was saying before how it's
Yes,
like
but they're
backfired.
using the crisis.
Really backfired.
They're using the crisis as an excuse.
Every time.
Yeah,
And if it wasn't COVID,
yeah.
if they really didn't mean for this whole Lloyd thing to blow up, then it was the most opportune situation they could have asked for. Because now you've got what, a quarter of the country burning and looting and out there trying to kill each other. These people haven't had
Major
jobs for
cities
2
anyway.
months. These people are
Would you
losing their
say-
businesses. Now you actually have people against people on the street, and they're just going to sit back, and there's going to be a point where they say, oh, no cops? I guess you'd like some cops about now. Be a shame.
Well, honestly, based off of
Shame.
everything that I've learned, it looks like the police force being a private company amongst each state, working in the private sector might not be a bad idea, but that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make.
Whoa, what?
That's a great idea.
No,
That is a
That's a really
fantastic
fucking
idea.
bad idea.
That's a fantastic idea.
I think it's a good idea, but it's gonna look like the one. You know what I'm saying? Jet Li's the one. It's kind of what it's gonna look like.
Nah,
It's gonna
point
look
I'm-
like
point I'm
The
trying to make
Godfather.
The point I'm trying to make is like, I just think that there is an idea that there are people that are actually for this cause that really do have it, and there are 2 sides to the same coin, and some people are standing in the middle, and some people are on one side, and some people are on one side. I think that a lot of the media and also social media has radicalized us all. And to John's point, I think that, between the powers that be and also the things that we see all the time and also social media and the media have a large effect on how we perceive things. That brings me to my next point, which is only about like Drew Brees' statements and not realizing what he said, and then what his backpedal was, then
Do we
what
have
Trump's,
the actual
and
statement?
then what the commissioner decided to say as a result. Like, what do you guys think?
Because I didn't read what Breeze said.
He basically said that he'll never agree with people disrespecting.
Yeah. That was a quote.
So that's just some yokel shit that Drew Brees was gonna say anyway.
Anyway, he would have said that
It's not
regardless.
anything that anybody hasn't said before.
If you
Yeah.
asked him what he
I
had
just
for
was
lunch,
wondering
he would have
that
been like, I don't believe that anybody should disrespect the flag. And you're like, dude, was it chicken or two? Like, what did you have for lunch? And you're like, I love America more than anything. All right.
I honestly think that was something that would have, this is something that would have happened anyway. But it's also wild that how the fuck could you come to say that now, after we're clearly it's clearly been stated what it was for, and we're seeing again and again what's going on. And then like there's an argument that like, oh, well, what about like white people or Asian people that are brutalized by the cops? And it's like, holy shit, like you should be angry too. Maybe you should take a fucking knee. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Everyone should be angry. Everyone should have been born angry in this country because we've been doing this shit forever.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a pastime. We don't like baseball. We love beating up Negroes. That's what we do in America. Bash a car, baby time. That's what we do in America. That's what we do. So yeah.
Oh, my nose.
Like that's what we do in America. But like at the same time,
oh shit.
The thing I hate is this idea that because you're outraged and I don't agree with you, or in Drew Brees' case, just because you're a millionaire redneck who's not really paying attention to what's going on. Yeah. I hate the idea that ignorance is the same as malice, where everybody looks at everybody else. If you don't know exactly what I say and like what I think and what I say and you don't agree with me, then you're fucking on the other side. And
you're just against it, yeah.
It takes out.
Well, it's beyond against it. It's more like you're verboten.
You're a you're a non-citizen. You're a non-issue.
But I'd like to go into that a little bit because the point that you're making, John, is that the reason why this protest is not going to work is very close to the same reason, but slightly different for the reason why the Occupy shit didn't work. Is that there's no clear goals, there's no real leaders pushing for shit. But it's not just that. In the background of these protests is a lot of performative white guilt.
Yeah.
And it just to illustrate, right? Like I was watching a clip of Joe Rogan, right? And there's this liberal guy, David Pakman, who runs a show.
I know Pakman. How many swirlies did that kid get before he finished 8th grade?
Okay, I mean, whatever.
He's a fucking piece of shit.
Oh my God.
Ben Shapiro's not?
Shapiro's a big piece of shit too.
Yeah, okay, so they're all pieces of shit just trying to get YouTube money.
Every time I look in the toilet, I see shit.
Just like we are.
We're having an enlightening discussion amongst ourselves.
Okay.
Nobody is watching this shit right now.
That's right. Okay, but what I want, it doesn't matter what you think about the guy. It matters what fucking happened to him. Where he was on Twitter. He was on Twitter. Yeah. And some ladies like, oh, we don't need to have Biden as the this was a couple months back. He was like, we don't need to have Biden as the nominee because all we've ever had is, old white men, and it's like time for that shit to be over. And the Democratic Party's, made up of mostly women and people of color and shit and blah, 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 all this stuff. So David Pakman tweets back very non-confrontationally. He's like, oh, it seems like you're just like excluding him based on like biological features. He's like, I thought we had a word for that. Okay, so already.
All right, he's a funny piece of
shit.
Okay, so you want to know what this bitch did?
She roasted him.
She fucking called up Columbia University and tried to get him fired.
Damn.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. So that's
okay. So that's what I'm trying to say is that there is performative white guilt.
This performative black pain too. I just got defriended by somebody because I criticized him trying to do that exact thing to someone he classified as racist. Okay, so everybody's doing it, and that's what I mean. The principles aren't there. The commitment isn't to positive change. The commitment is to revenge right now, and it's whoever they can get.
I mean, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, revenge is not.
I don't know how many times I have to keep saying the same thing. I mean, you can't have these emotionally charged ideals expecting logical results.
Well, you can with a sound mind.
But you can't succeed that way either.
Yeah.
So just because this is the only way you get juiced up, you need to learn a new trick. My biggest problem with all this is that it is so predictable and it is so repetitive, and that through all of this, we haven't found a better way to deal with it as people in this country. It's almost like we need it to establish ourselves in a hierarchy. If we don't have these events, if you don't see a fucking black man dying every year, is it even still America? If we don't have, I'm serious, because what you're talking about, we're making niggers out of everybody, and it is a creative
That one guy in the
person.
street, that was his quote.
But we're making everybody scum, and everybody's getting in on it because everyone's trying to raise themselves by lowering others, and we can't win that way.
Yeah, dog.
cannot
Yeah, I
win
feel
that
that though. Yeah, I feel that. Like, you can't
You
have.
know?
You don't always need gain with loss. Like that doesn't have to. It
And
doesn't have to
that's
always be that way.
everybody's got a scorecard, and everybody is trying to get their pegs in right now, and that's what
Yes,
scares
but here's the other thing is that the reason why you have so much of this, and there's also a part of it that is very much like Occupy, where there's a lot of young people that they're doing it because it's fucking fashionable. It's fashionable to protest.
Have you been
Right.
go to a protest.
Rebellion!
It
It's always
feels-
cool to be a rebellion.
It feels like a concert. There's no music, so you just have to try and get laid. There's nothing else to do. You go up to a girl and you go, Black Lives Matter, and then you fuck her. That is what these are.
Or you in sexual frustration later loot a 7-Eleven.
Either or, you don't get laid, you smash a brick through a window, man. Like it's
Like,
all,
we all know.
it's
Okay,
all
so-
good fun, man.
So to John's point, that actually is a good segue into all of the things that are surrounding this. This is all like in accordance with the main topic, which is just relationships, and I mean like broad. I mean this in the broadest way possible. Like I mean like employee to employer, employee relationships. Obviously couples relationships, interracial relationships, all of these things. And the first thing that I want to bring up is the Amy Cooper incident, where she essentially told this black man and sitting in the park, in Central Park, that he can't.
Hold on, because there's yes, we're all familiar with the story.
Yeah.
Little bird watching.
Turns out they're
That's
both
just
Hold on a second.
hilarious, dog.
It turns out they're both pieces of shit. One was
You can't go bird watching, and you can't tell me that I can't walk my dog.
off
Without a link.
Okay.
Yeah. So this guy's
Let's
local.
talk about the latest incident.
Oh nah, this dude, bro. Nah, this dude would have got hands, dog. I'm sorry.
This dude
Bro.
we'll talk about later, but I want to talk about her. This is the latest Karen. Okay.
Oh shit.
Is this set up? Is that like a? It looks like
No, this is real. This is a real thing that happened. This is a real thing that happened. Okay. She goes to her little like gentrified park area near her apartments. And then
Brooklyn.
there happens to be a black lady who also lives there, sitting there. And she fucking calls the cops and is like, this lady's threatening me and shit. When all this lady was like, I don't know who the fuck you are, but I live here. You thought you could speak to me like I was somebody that doesn't live here. Like, go fuck yourself, basically. And this fragile little Russian lady, okay, she starts calling the cops. Her husband was with her at the beginning of the video. And he leaves. He's like, I don't want to be a part of this.
So we ain't American, bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? You got a goddamn visa.
And the fucked up part is that just like the cop's wife divorced him, this guy ended up divorcing her. He was like, I'm done with you.
Good for him. That is a resolution to that problem. He said,
"Oh my
fuck
god,
this crazy bitch."
said peace. Say, what the fuck? I didn't even know you were like that.
But it's like, dude, at this point, there's Hermit Patty. You know what I mean? There's corner
But
store.
here's the other thing.
Carla.
We're also encouraging snitches at every level.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're creating a self-Stasi here, and we
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
we
dope.
love it. We get high off of it because
Yeah.
we're doing it to her. This retard, this fucking look at her. She's miserable enough. She just let her die in antiquity. But we love it. We love piling on people. We love getting in the same mob, and that's what I'm talking about. So it's the people who support her and the people who are against her, and it's like it's just that's the new pastime. Just these e-trials.
Honestly, yeah, that's like the first way you can start. That's like the first way you can start. Like literally, like I guess if you could attack systemic racism, is that going for the people who literally weaponize systemic racism. Like they literally like, oh shit, I'm gonna call the fucking cops on you. What you gonna do? Oh help! Oh, they beating the shit out of me. Boom! Next thing you know, you're arrested.
That doesn't do it, but it probably feels good. Because like, here's the thing: every aspect of our life, we are snitching on somebody. Always, we're snitching on ourselves most of the time. Like,
they ain't no lie, bro. Shit,
like
Twitter
we're always telling on ourselves.
Yeah.
We're always doing it, and why? So we can get attention. They've paired the two things. And we need the attention to feel good now. Because why sell drugs when you can just give them a fucking mind brick and they'll walk around with it and they'll interact with it and they'll talk to you and they'll tell you what they want and they'll get what they want and you'll build these webs, you know everything about them. And when they're displeased, what do you say? You say call for support.
Right.
You don't show them how to do it themselves. You just say call this number and we'll
all the way
in
to
every aspect of our lives. We are letting other people take responsibility for our actions and we're asking them to do more. If I wanted to start somewhere, I would reduce the things that cops can get called for. Don't fucking bug me about anything less than imminent death and robbery. Like, fuck yourself. They want to babysit everybody, and we keep letting them.
Yeah.
Yo, I got a question. So like you know what I'm saying? Most of the serious shit aside, on a lower tone of a sinister note, what the fuck you guys think about stuff like Cash App becoming banks, like having routing numbers and account numbers?
What?
Shit, asking for your deposits. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, like
a couple places
Cash
have
App is
gone
like a bank now.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
And a lot of places are going cashless, man. So
it's weird.
You're at the whim of these companies.
They don't have a fucking phone number.
That's what I mean. So all you have to do, like, you have to use the phone now to get your money.
What? That's crazy.
Well, Eugene just kind of made me think of a larger.
They've been building for digital currency for a long time, and I think the one you really have to watch is Facebook right now.
Yeah, they're pushing hard too.
Yeah, they're pushing really hard for that.
Yeah.
Well, Eugene just brought me to a larger topic, and I mean not a larger topic, but like still in regards to the same topic. Let's say about 9 years ago, there was a lawsuit filed against Bank of America because they were giving unfair loan advantages and interest rates to Black people, and then they turn around and fucking contributed $9 million to the idea
BLM?
of racial inequality.
What?
So it just seems real convenient.
If you don't think that every single company, look at every single company, dude. Every single company is commodifying the fuck out of both coronavirus and and this Black Lives Matter shit. You got fucking the NFL being like, oh, we recognize our racist past. Oh, really? Really? Where's Kaepernick's career?
Washington Redskins.
Yeah, not once have they brought Colin Kaepernick up.
They're not
Oh,
going
bro,
to.
they're
Not even
They're not going
issued
to.
an
They're not
apology.
going to.
Didn't even issue an apology, bro.
They
Yeah.
need to a formal apology,
Apology
dog. Like,
to him,
oh
yeah.
my god, it's
Yeah.
crazy now. Like, it's crazy. It's obvious. Everyone acknowledges it, and you're still sitting there like, oh well, we still think you was disrespecting the flag, so you ain't get a job. That's basically what they're saying.
It's stupid.
At this point, like that, like you're like non-verbally because you already took a stance. It's not even like it's not even like they're out of it and they're not taking a stance. The stance was already had. Like all this shit was already talked about. It already happened. He lost his job. Didn't give him a job back, and you continue to crucify players that took their knees.
So yeah, if they were smart, they would just have shut the fuck up. Like
Yeah.
if I was in the boardroom with Goodell, I'd be like, hey, do you know any black people? No, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because here's the thing.
The only black people you see are the
Well, not all
tiny
of
ants
them,
when you look down.
There's also
Not
like
all of
a.
you know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also a real weird, sinister undercurrent of the fact that we've seen previous riots, right? We've seen what happened. We saw some companies supporting them. Now, I don't want to be completely like make a bad faith argument or pretend I can read somebody's mind. Maybe things have gotten so much more visible, not to say worse in the past 5 years, but visible because of camera phones, that some of these companies, maybe somebody in there has basically, they feel now a moral commitment and they're like, this is wrong. That's one possibility.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Is another possibility though, just to take the other side, because I think this is very real, is in the last series of riots motivated by the police brutality and or, the outright murder of someone that was black. What ended up happening was that there were some companies at that time that ran ad campaigns or gave them money, but it wasn't as big as this. Now, one thing that I would like to point out and keep in mind is the last few times riots happened, they happened in a couple of cities, and it was a big national issue, but it didn't take place everywhere. This is almost like some weird medieval Catholic church shit where you were a wealthy person and you knew you were going to hell or that the peasants were going to rise up against you and the church would intervene. And
you start counting your fucking
but you could get an indulgence, right? You could get an indulgence. You could go into the priest.
Get your indulgence. That's exactly what it is.
And you could pay the fucking money to the priest, and ostensibly the priest would take care of it for you, and ostensibly that money would eventually trickle down to the people who needed it, who maybe you did a bad thing to, the peasants, let's say. The money would filter down to them.
Yeah.
That's supposedly how it works.
Yeah.
But it would never work that way. It would never work that way. It was a priest interceding between the wrong people and then the person who had the power over them, and then the priest took the fucking money, and basically what it was like, you won't go to hell, and I won't let these peasants attack you if you give me your fucking money. And then I will absolve.
Yeah, give me your fucking money so I can build fucking St. Peter's Basilica.
Right. So part of what I'm looking at.
So I can pay off Michelangelo.
Yeah. If the unrest wasn't this widely spread, would people be handing out this much money? Are they paying this money? Is this a protection?
No, they're just they're totally the big corporations are totally capitalizing. I'm sure there's some. I mean, obviously, I believe Ben and Jerry's was real about their shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Just because it was not some all they have to do is just be 2 clicks less robotic than everybody else. They didn't do anything else. They said the same bullshit.
But how many Bank of America branches are on the corner of some giant building that all have fucking glass windows?
Right?
No shit. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck. Building.
Hey, everyone, we care. We care. Don't get near our shit. We care. Remember that we care.
Just stay away from the fucking tower.
Exactly.
Look. In terms of we care, and in terms of the general topic, the my end on the discussion of Bank of America is look, I feel like it's all too often that we're put in situations where people think that reparations can be bought, and for me, reparations are not something that you can just buy. Reparations are something that's like, how you doing? Reparations is something that is a feeling, right? Reparations is something that if you know any better, you have to make people feel like they are your equal. Not like, you know, dismantling whole statues and, you know, making physical demonstration of that you respect these people, but you have to make people feel like, for me, number one, it never happened, but also never let people forget where we started.
You're asking a lot of people, which is what they should be asking of themselves. I think you're talking about reconciliation, because reparations is when they pay you back, when they put a dollar amount on what you went through, and then you go, okay, that's enough for me not to give a shit anymore. I'm just gonna go by my business. Reconciliation is when
Like,
you
I think
work it out
I think
yourself. And
I think he's more talking
that.
about.
I like that better. I like that a lot better. You know,
Isn't that basically what the apartheid kind of was?
they tried reconciliation.
When everybody came out and then just said what the fuck they did, when that's when that got everybody together, like yo, like motherfuckers is fucking up because the system is fucked up. So that
I mean, it was a lot harsher. It was a lot harsher there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, but essentially, you know what it stems from? It comes down from what? Motherfucking British colonialism. Done deal. That's literally end of the
Well, no, I mean, there's no question to me in my mind that the structural racism that we face now is just an after effect of colonialism.
Yeah. I feel like
see, this is the problem, though.
What's the problem?
We just hate each other. We'll find a reason afterwards. Race is really
I mean, I don't
easy. Race is really easy. And I tell you this as an African, you can look just like somebody else and find a reason to hate him, hate his kids, hate everybody that comes after them. It's never just about race.
I understand that. I mean, I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive, though.
They're not. I just think it's like a simplistic view. Again, I look at everything going on and I'm like, are we still hung up on this? Like, we can't get together on anything because they've got us thinking the worst of each other automatically. It pisses me off. But then again, if it's earned, that's something else. So, yeah. Yeah, if it's earned, well earned. You know.
I was gonna say though, and I'll pull it up later when I get back upstairs. But when we were talking about the banking and stuff in relation to the riots, you wouldn't believe this shit, but fucking Fox News posted a picture where they showed like a graph of all the previous riots in America with what the S&P 500 or what the Dow Jones was at.
It's usually a bump, isn't it?
Well, there's supposedly a bump, but just like the jobs report that you were talking about, like I think that we've been in what's called so the guy that predicted that shorted the what's his name Burry, Michael J. Burry, the guy that predicted the 2008 financial crisis and was like probably the first person to really seriously short the market. He thinks that we're in an index bubble right now. And from what I understand, even looking at some of the financial stuff before the coronavirus hit, it seems patently true to me. You know what I mean? Like when you look, even just the surface level. You making a beat over there, Eugene?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, I didn't know if I was tripping or not. I was like, damn, this weed is good.
No, you can hear that? My bad. My bad, bro.
No, it's all good. I was like, that's a tripped out organ.
Yeah.
It's like 14 effects on it.
You saw nobody complained. We're all right.
Yeah. I actually thought at one point that you were like playing the riffs, like depending on what people said.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
We just made it to prime time.
Yeah. But
That'd
I
be
mean,
awesome if you could synthesize my thoughts.
That'd be fucking crazy.
but that's the other thing is that
that
to make it to go more to John's point about like, there's nothing here that's new, is that you're going to see almost any type of business activity in the sort of gray markets and stuff. The shit that's going on right now in the country right now with just PPE alone, there's a huge black market on that shit. You know what I mean? It's like people are buying PPEs like it's a fucking Coke deal. They're like, show me the picture of the fucking shipment.
Well,
You
why
know
are
what I
they
mean?
restricting it? Why are they restricting it? That's what I mean.
The federal government, dude, Trump's fucking national coordination for that shit is a fucking joke.
Here
It's a
in
fucking
Maryland,
joke.
the governor said he got 500,000 test kits from South Korea because his wife is South Korean.
Because his wife, yeah.
And they
That's
said
right.
it was this huge triumph. He was on the phone like late nights with a 6-hour, 10-hour time difference, whatever the fuck it is. He's doing all this behind the scenes work. Turns out there's a company that started making them just in time for him to order the same amount. They'd be local, and he would have guaranteed that they were full test kits. They think what happened was that he bought a bunch of test kits, but they weren't complete, and he didn't know that. Ooh. So now it's 3 months later, and he hasn't used one of the test kits. Ooh. And that's the problem with like wrapping our actual well-being with a person who pays no price for being wrong. So, yeah, maybe Maryland could have been at like what 10, 15% of testing, maybe. Or is that even just wishful thinking? Wow. And like, if this is a real problem, why do you do it in such a way that you act like you don't give a shit? Because it doesn't really affect you. At least, God forbid it affect you. Because yeah, I know we were running through the paces, but let's just acknowledge it. Yeah, this is a real thing. There are people affected. There are people dying and like permanently damaged because of it. So it's ridiculous that we'll use it as an opportunity to accrue power for an alternate reason instead of actually helping. Like all of the rhetoric behind it, and it's always taking away from like, if there's a real problem, we can just do this. So I will say that is my main criticism of like the COVID response.
I think that okay. So what is the thing that makes us all human, right? Our miscomings, our faults, right? Where do
history,
anyone in general, not just based off of like what Eugene and John was saying, not just white people, where do we decide that we have been given the power to judge another person?
That's age-old question.
A lot of people would say accountability, right? But also to that point, when do you decide that you're holding somebody accountable based off of your own experiences and not trying to be conscious of experiences that you may never have?
I would say that you got to try and just be able to walk for yourself. Like, you got to realize that everybody's going to do exactly what they want to do, and just feel strong enough that you don't try and push someone into what you want them to do. Because that's what we're always doing. We see someone doing something different, and we say, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know anything about life or society or the important things. You know, you're a moron. You're a barbarian. You're a beast. You're backwards. You're an animal. I'll treat you however I feel. And I feel like the justification always comes afterwards. Like, we need something, we do something about it, and then we rationalize it afterwards. So, yeah.
I got a question. What would be the benefits and the downfalls of having a unified planet?
That's a good question. That's an A1 question, and that's no, because that's the thing, and that gets to the like everybody wants peace and wants a one world utopia. But then if you just reframe it and you say, do you want, the new world order? People are like, no. It's a weird slice between those things. I mean, I kind of adhere personally to Nassim Taleb's idea of like localism, city states. I mean, that's tougher with nuclear weapons. It kind of fucks up the ability to a certain point, because then who gets the nuclear weapons, and it just gets really tricky. But
we do.
You're talking about
I think even part of the problem with like police, two of the biggest problems we have in America are, in terms of public sector, are policing and teaching. And as people constantly say, it's tough to get good teachers and it's tough to get good cops.
It's tough to get rid of them too. What do both of those things have in common?
Yeah.
Two gigantic unions.
Two gigantic unions. And then another thing is at the exact same time, it's like everybody knows deep down that you can get shitty anything. You can get a shitty firefighter, a shitty accountant, etc. But in general, when it's a public sector job, if you went towards something more like localism, right? You had city states, polis, right? If you had that, then the majority of the people that are the teachers there that are like, the cops there. How many times have you lived in a neighborhood? I bet and some of our parents who may have grown up in cities, maybe when they were kids, but like the very idea that you would live in a neighborhood and then the cop would live like on the building across the street from you.
Yeah.
The fucking cop every day, and you would know who the cop is. Like, that's insane.
You would know who the fuck they are. Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be a different thing.
Same way with same way with teachers, because we all also know, have getting our asses beat growing up. Like, fucking the exact fact is that if your parents know your teacher and your teacher is in the community, you're only going to push so hard. Because like if the teacher knows your parents and comes up and they're like, we know so and so, right? Miss Hathaway or whatever her name is, like they know her. She comes to him and she's like, yo, Bennett's acting up, Eric's acting up, John's acting up, Eugene, Joe, any of them. She's like, this has been happening. Then you're gonna fucking catch it, because they're not gonna be like, who the fuck are you? We don't know you. What relationship do you have with my son? Like,
don't talk about my little angel.
Exactly. But if it's somebody, and some of our parents had this experience more than like obviously we did. But it was just like, if somebody that you fucking went to church with, dude.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Imagine seeing your teacher.
Yeah, and they're your teacher, and they tell your parents that you've been acting up, you're fucking dead. You're going to get beaten with an inch of your life.
You're not
going to be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, so
imagine your teacher and your local cop were married.
Oh, my goodness.
You felt like you just beat the shit out.
Yeah, exactly. But so
you fucking ran a red light.
Your parents
The cop knows who's gonna be a criminal. Who's gonna be a criminal before they become a criminal.
I've been chasing your little ass since 3rd grade, you piece of shit.
Exactly. So then to flip
talk
back
about you before it even happened.
Oh my God, he's just waiting for you. He's like, when you're 16, I'm gonna knock your teeth out of your mouth.
That would literally decrease a lot of that fucking wild shit.
No, localism's a big thing, because even here they offer work where you live deduction if you're buying a house. So if you're a local teacher, a local, policeman, something, each one has a program where they're like, please live in Baltimore, please live in the city. They have wrecked this place so much, they'll give you like 10 grand just to be here close to your job. And like, that's like too late, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they need more.
Okay, so to you guys' point, right? I could be wrong about this, but this is how I'm essentially interpreting it. I feel like what you guys are talking about by localism is sovereignty, in a sense, and that brings me back to my point about the that brings my point back to the idea of the police being a private company.
Yeah.
Because while there would be, look, if you become a private company, you're a contractor, right? You need licenses in order to do your job. And so as a federal government, you set these standards in order for in order for people to be able to do their jobs, or even for them to be able to
The
apply
feds
for it.
can't be involved. They're doing that now.
Okay,
And
so let's say
that
they
would
do.
be
Okay,
the
so let's
big
say, okay, so
difference. You
let's
would
say they do.
have competitive firms going back and forth, but that would also be
Let's say they do it on the state level. Then let's say for whatever reason they do it on
no.
the state level.
The point is, if you're gonna go private, you can't have government oversight because that's what they're doing now. It'd be the same shit with somebody else's badge. It'd be
Well, they
some,
do the same thing with the
some
military.
McDonald's cop that kicks your teeth in. Like that's how it would be. Yo, you're in Disneyland jurisdiction, bitch. This is Amazonia.
Cops, Amazon cops, chill the fuck out.
That's how it would be.
Well, it's basically corporate feudalism.
That's all it would be. You would be in the
Borderlands, dog.
the fiefdom of Google.
Like we're the police of this apartment. Like,
it would be like, and it also would just be like, yo, I work for Colgate, and we got a squad. So if you're fucking with me at this bar, maybe watch out because everybody knows Colgate's got those ace shooters.
Oh my god, bro.
Nobody messes with.
That's a new mess.
No, but that's the point.
It turns into fucking Italy, bro. It turns into fucking Italy.
Yeah, it would just be like old world gang shit. The Middle Ages was
literally middle-aged Italy, dog. That's what that is.
Yeah, it was chaotic because here's the thing about power vacuums, and here's the thing I acknowledge when people say defund the police. I've talked about, the privatization of everything, but yes, I don't deny for a second that things would be more dangerous if you had to negotiate security contracts all the time. Like,
but why shouldn't we be able to hire the police?
I didn't say we shouldn't. I'm saying you have to acknowledge that as bad as it is, it's not universally bad, and that introducing privatized security is something that has to be done slowly and watch what happens. They're doing it here in small places, and people are protesting that they have better police treatment because they pay for it. Yeah. So it's like in this place that is so bad at policing, it's like they never heard of how to do it without just killing others, killing themselves, letting others kill each other. Like not taking a rape kit for fucking 7 years and having a 20% like clearance rate. To replace them, you're replacing the idea that all authority comes from the government. You're replacing a lot of ideas, and it would take a Disney World or a Google having a certain amount of land to be like, everyone who lives here is living in our jurisdiction, and they all abide by these rules. And these are our rules, because the grand scale thing, they're talking about nationally defunding the police, nationally suck this dick. Like, doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, as bad as it is, there are places where it's worse than others, and there are ways to like deal with it, and you just have to decide to deal with it.
All right, so what then in that case, like what, let me ask this, like what is the outline for like localism? Because like if you're gonna have a place that's gonna be a sovereign country within a country, then you don't answer to the federal government, right? So then you have to have your own police.
Well, no,
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that it's more dangerous. That anytime you transition from one old concept to another, it's dangerous. And you can also have localism just by paying more attention to your immediate surroundings. You don't have to, like, we don't have to break the whole system, but that starts with the individual versus doing a group thing. But then that's also enough. Everybody's always asking everybody else to take responsibility for what needs to happen. Just start changing things in your own life. You'll see things get better.
Right in your own actual immediate vicinity.
Yeah. It's hyper localism. It's like not just hiring a new police force. It's being able to handle yourself when there are no police around, so you don't get scared and have to call the cops for fucking everything. It's being able to talk to people and actually negotiate the problems that you have in everyday life.
On a consumer perspective, like it's also like literally spending money in your local communities and not going straight to the
Yes.
corporate establishments instead of
If
like
it's
saying going to
available
Pizza
down
Hut,
the
go to
road.
the fucking mom and pop joint. You know what I'm saying? Fucking Domino's and all that shit. And I don't say that like to like make it sound like weird, but I think it's really like that simple in a way. Like it's weird.
It kind of is.
Like because that's kind of how it went down. I was like, oh, so who supports Trump again? I was like, damn, I can't get no fucking pizza. I was like, wait, there's a mom and pop joint right there. I'm like, man, I'm gonna go get some fucking pizza. Dog, I got that pizza. It's the best pizza I had in all year.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I was like, how the fuck did he get like this? I'm like, I don't what the fuck? Why don't I know their name? Why don't I know their name?
Yeah.
I've been living here for 5 years.
Your pizzeria is the most important part of your the fucking neighborhood.
You know what I'm saying? When you go to the grocery store, the fucking cash register, when you like as many, I got the fucking food line. I go to the same food line multiple times a week. Like I barely know people's names. I talk to them all the time. I'm like, what the fuck is up with this shit? It's always weird though. It's like I feel guilty for not knowing their names and shit. But there's that like it's that connection, like you were talking about last time, John. Like you have that connection.
Well, but you see, you have to understand that part of the problem is when you dispense with community, that people can make money off of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like a lonely person that doesn't have basic social skills and shit.
Yeah,
that is a gold mine for a company, because think about it, they're getting their food through all the apps.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking everything is a service.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like they don't even have to leave the fucking house. You know what I mean? So it's just when you don't have to think about it this way. What's the difference between living in a neighborhood or like some fucking like gentrified condo building? You don't fucking know your neighbors. Most of the people I know that have lived in fucking apartment buildings or condos, they don't fucking know their neighbors at all. Like, dude, in my neighborhood where I grew up, if you wanted some eggs, you fucking go knock on the neighbor's door.
Yeah,
if you needed some sugar for baking or whatever, people helped each other out. But I feel like there's certain people and I think that number's increasing in the younger generations where they fucking just don't have those skills.
But I think that's also because they live in like fucked up.
It alienates people in a community, and that's why you get these fucking problems like John is talking about.
But most of us don't own shit. You know what I mean? Most of us don't. Most of us kind of live in like group homes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most of us are already like living in group home situations where we're already like forced to be like that. And it's just you don't know exactly who lives next door, but you're kind of already living with like 6 other people in one house, and so it's kind of like that situation already. So it's just I don't know why it's so hard to spread it out. I don't know why it's hard to upscale that.
It's more work, like,
and it's just it's work.
It's a lot of work.
But why does it have to be work when like
the depth of friendship?
People? And it's just
being a good person. It's not.
Well, the point I'm trying to say, like when it comes, like when you're living with all these people, like
being an adult socially is fucking work.
A co-op,
you know.
It's supposed to be co-op.
Well, yeah, because even if things became more like local, right, and you knew your neighbors more, which I think is ultimately a good thing. I think that part of the attraction for people don't want to do that. Why they don't want to do that is like, you know, because if you've ever been in that situation. Then one thing that happens is you're like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play video games, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to get high and listen to music. And you get ready to do it, and then your phone rings, or someone comes and knocks on your door, and they're like, so-and-so just said some shit to me. You won't believe it. I need to talk to you. And then you're like, okay. And they come in and they talk to you. And not only do they talk to you and take your time up, but then somehow a little bit later, 2 days later, now you're involved in the thing. Because then the person they were talking about comes up and oh, that bitch came over and told this to you. And you're like, yeah, what was I going to do? Tell her to go away? I didn't know what she was going to say to begin with. She said some shit on me. Oh, she said some shit on you. Well, that's, I was there. What was I supposed to do? Just like stop her and be like, get the fuck out. She's like, yeah, that's what you should have. You're fucking caught up in somebody else's shit. And you're like, I don't want to be fucking part of this. And that's where Joe's right. Being an adult is fucking in a community. It's serious effort, because as annoying as that shit is, and we've all fucking lived through it, like the upshot of that, it's like you don't just get the upshot. You got to be honest. I think that the benefits outweigh it in localism, but like one of the downsides of virtually anything is that you have to fucking then put up with a lot of petty shit and drama that you're like, man, I wish this wasn't here. Right?
Yeah,
And
especially like,
complicated.
especially
Yeah,
like, especially like when you're like, especially like when you're living like in like it's in a group home or in like even in an apartment building. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I hate when like my wife and I like get into arguments and you know like people I know can definitely hear us because these walls are thin. Yeah, and then you're a part of the community, and you're like, if you don't talk to people that are going on around you, they may assume something different. They may assume that something worse is going on. You
And
know
we're talking, and even as we're talking about this, it's like it goes back to why people are calling the cops because they don't bother to sit down and find out why is that kid always screaming? Oh, because he's autistic. Sometimes he gets freaked out by stuff and he has to scream, you know?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, they're living here for the last 7 years and you just didn't fucking know?
You didn't know, but you call the cop every Thursday because on Thursday something happens that sets him off. And like the little it's righteous work, it's important work, but it is work, and we're living in groups that are larger than we've ever existed in.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure that we're doing anything meaningful in life. Everything is like very pointless around us. Our jobs suck. We don't really care about anything. All our jokes are about us eating detergent and killing ourselves. Like, we're a deeply troubled people. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, we're fucked up.
So,
So we don't want to talk to anybody.
And we like enjoy fucking. We fucking enjoy like ironic hieroglyphs. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know,
But we all still get along.
Oh yeah. I might get a date if I push the right smiley face and make sure that she likes this smiley face, because then she'll touch my penis. And after she does that,
Yeah.
first I'll send this
fucking
picture.
Tom Papa has a joke where he looks on his kid's iPhone and he's like, oh, I better not like see any sex stuff or whatever on there. and he goes and looks at the text message and it's like, oh, what did you have for dinner last night? I had pizza. And it's like, oh, smiley face, unicorn, fucking blah, 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 blah. He's like, his shit was so fucking useless, meaningless bullshit.
Nah, real talk, yo. You look at some people's phones and it's like, what the fuck? Like, communication has evolved in such a weird way. In like, as far as like people, everyone that's like involved with the internet. Because like, that's the one thing I always like kind of like look back at. I'm like, yo, like, it feels like everyone when you're on the internet.
Don't call it
everyone.
I don't know if it's an evolution. It's just a change.
Is it a bad?
Like
it might be a regression.
Well, one of the
it's
most
so much faster though.
Yeah, it's a lot faster. But one of the things that I think is interesting, specifically when you get into like emojis, and some people will just like communicate in emoji strings, right?
Yeah.
And on the one hand, it could be, and on the one hand, it could be helpful. And this is why people are about to make the argument I'm about to like put out. People have made the argument before. On the one hand, it can be helpful because there's a weird emoji logic. If you know what it is, you could be in Japan and you could hold up a phone with an emoji string on it and somebody could basically figure out what you're fucking saying.
Real talk. Universal language.
No, and that's what's weird about it. But
on the other hand, what is this sorcery?
And at the exact same time, so people are basically being like, well,
what just happened? What the fuck just happened?
Ridiculous.
But this is what I'm about to say. This is what I'm about to say is that I heard that argument and I think, man, I was like, man, there's really some truth to that. But I was like, when we discovered, like, or rediscovered, when like the world did, right? Specifically in some of like the Rosetta Stone, which was hidden, and they created hieroglyphics, and people for thousands of years saw hieroglyphics and they didn't know what they fucking meant. They were like, what does that mean? How weird would it be if in a fucking 1,000 years from now we had hieroglyphs, but it were emojis, and all these people were like, they had a symbolic writing that
Fuck
was
off.
the only thing. They're like the only thing. They're like the only thing that we can tell you.
Eggplant.
Stop. The only thing. Hold on. The only thing that we can tell you about it, because we don't know what it means, is whoever these people were, they were obsessed with. Their writing is overly cute. It's just imagine if all the Egyptian hieroglyphs looked like emojis that were styled like emojis. You'd be like, what are these people doing? It's just everything's real cutesy. I mean, they built all this huge shit, and it's just like, hi, hello, we want to kiss me.
And then you find out they're just beating the shit out of each other for running red lights and shit.
Exactly.
Now they crash land and they just see
these people were hyper violent. We find their bones and they have these breaks in them, like there were bullet holes in them and shit. They're like, they were so violent, but they communicated in smiley face language.
Hypersexual, fucking they find someone's preserved body with a fucking gaping asshole and shit. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
somehow this 7th and 8th vertebrae are broken. Just smashed to pieces.
Does he have any identification?
This message is just a string of eggplants. What the fuck does that mean?
Huge eggplants.
All right, and in other news.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So look,
Dude, people are going to be really confused in the future.
So look,
it's a lot going on right now.
I want to bring this topic up right before we move to the Carol Baskin topic, and this is a post that was about an hour ago from Danny Fry on Facebook, making some comments about Mayor Muriel Bowser. It says, just so we're clear, DC's current mayor, Muriel Bowser, been anti-native Washingtonian, i.e. black, for a long time, closing hospitals, allowing food deserts, allowing food deserts, closing homeless shelters, tearing down homeless tent encampments, rezoning wards for political gain.
Jesus.
Like constantly price gouging, claiming eminent domain to build stadiums, building more hotels and affordable housing, and radically gentrifying DC so that the same black folks she's spray painted about can't afford the comfortability to live there. No one has forgotten, ma'am. This street is pretty, though.
Did he write that or did he repost that?
It looks like he wrote it.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Well, Beyonce was the one that reposted it.
At the same time, though, it's just like
she wrote
one thing that I'll always remember about Muriel Bowser versus like other mayors that have been elected recently, right? Like Fenty and Gray and all the attendant things that went around them.
Gray.
But yeah. I can only remember the reason that everybody voted for Muriel Bowser. Like I can't remember any of her platform. I just remember that President Obama, it was one of the few endorsements he gave for like anyone. He's like, you should elect this person. And I remember, if I remember correctly, I didn't know anything about her. Like everybody seemed to vote for her because President Obama was like, I live in DC. I know Muriel Bowser. She's great. And boom, she got it.
She's just Vincent Gray too.
Well, I just didn't know anything about her to this day. Her
she worked for Vincent Gray.
Oh, she worked for Vincent Gray? Oh, well.
Yeah, she did.
And like both those, all I know is that
John, get your people, bro.
Shut your fucking mouth. Holy shit, they are stopping here.
The nightmares come true. They're coming to get you, John. Get your guns.
They're here.
Bro, do y'all remember Eagle Eye?
Ambulance.
Just wanted to just put that in there real quick.
Eagle Eye.
The way it kicked off was crazy. The way it like just set off. The way the movie just just crescendoed into madness.
Shia LaBeouf movie.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
No, that movie was fucking awesome.
Like, there were so many good
shit in the tunnel. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen Shia LaBeouf's new movies.
Is that Moonboy?
The two that he had.
I heard that one's good.
Just came out with
Honey Boy.
There we go.
Something
Honey
Boy.
Is it Honey Boy you're talking
Honey
about?
Boy.
Yeah, Honey Boy.
Honey Boy and
that movie
Peter Butter.
That movie's great.
Peter Butter Falcon.
Oh,
Yeah.
peanut butter
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. It sounds
I
like a
think so.
Reese's snack.
Yeah, I was like,
Charlotte
what?
Baxter is an underrated actor, bro. He knows how to act, man.
I don't think
Sounds
he's
like a
underrated. I
peanut
think
butter
everybody
cup.
knows he's good. It's just what he does in his.
No.
I like Shia
I
LaBeouf.
I
What he
like him,
does in
man.
his off time is
Fuck
nuts.
that
Like
guy.
I love him.
Bro, that movie sounds like a Super Smash Bros. Skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Butter
I mean, even
Falcon.
Peanut Butter Falcon. Kelly just reminded me too. Even when he's like playing supporting roles, like when he was in Constantine, like
That's a great.
he's just a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great. I love him. I
I
also
love
love him more when he's trying to be a self-righteous prick. But I also understand why he's crazy. Can you imagine being in that world since you were a little kid and your dad was always pushing you this way, pushing you that way? Like,
Yeah, every once in a while, one of them comes out kind of woke, yo. But a lot of times they turn out fucked up because Macaulay Culkin still is weird, bro. Like,
well, you're always
it's
gonna
still
be
strange.
He's
weird.
not on drugs
he's
anymore,
like
though.
fucking
Allegedly.
Nosferatu, dog.
Allegedly,
Way
he's not on
fucking
drugs.
cooler than Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf made the greatest reality TV show ever displayed, ever aired on Earth. It was
Yeah.
the He Will
Stevens?
Not Divide Us live stream 1 through 8. Do not
Yeah.
tell me he's
Yeah,
not a
it's
genius.
pretty amazing.
It is the
You know-
greatest thing on the internet.
So that brings me to my next point. Like, there's this. So let me start off by saying that there is an ongoing investigation in Florida about the disappearance of Carol Baskin's husband, and they're trying to figure out like essentially what happened, and because I think he just got in a rocket and went to Mars. Is my whole thing, but
That
like
she going to jail.
he was like, I gotta get away. Itch. No, I'm
She's
kidding.
gone. Just fucking
Going to jail, dog. Wait. What state though? What state? Florida?
Florida.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, nah, she's getting off, dog. She's getting dropped. It's getting dropped.
Last week, two things happened. The first thing is that come to find out, this man Joe Exotic doesn't own his zoo, and the guy that took over at the end of Tiger
Libertarian,
King
you think he's actually gonna pay the dude?
was like running the shit into the ground, and apparently he forged his grandmother's signature in order to get the land back for her will.
That sounds like some fucking Florida shit.
They ended up finding that shit out. Then the judge decided to grant, because she was the one that put the charge on him in the first place. I think it was like copyright infringement or something like that. And then they ended up finding all this other shit out about Joe Exotic, and then they granted her to be able to take over his zoo. Now they found out that the will of her husband and like the right of attorney and the just like the what do you call it when you give somebody something after you die? What is it? Yeah, in the will, but what is it called? Like the fucking like in like health insurance.
The executor?
No, not the executor. The fucking look, anyway, like all the things that made it right, they ended up finding out that signature was forged. There were two experts that were able to find out with the Florida police that signature was forged, but because the expiration date because of the expiration date on to dispute it has already passed, they can't do anything about it.
You gotta watch this fucking show.
Oh, that's such a fucking Florida story.
That's so Florida. They're gonna end it in a methed out tiger fight. They're just gonna.
You see what I'm saying, dog? You know what I'm saying?
Fucking crazy.
They're gonna throw 2 piles of crystal in the corner of a circular pit and just have the tigers eat meth and fight each other.
Dude,
all night.
that's just so funny.
Every time.
It's just like basically they were like, listen, we think a crime has been committed. We think a man has been murdered. And they go and they find the dead man and they're like, yes, we can match the bullet with the gun. And they're decomposing for like 3 months. And they're like, good, then we can arrest him. And they're like, listen, This is going to be real technical police stuff. but the body's been dead 2 days too long. What do you mean it's been dead 2 days too long? That's just the law. It's kind of like it's just kind of like no tag backs in hide and seek.
My
Right?
pep
Like
said
fucking
that.
if it's over 3 months, then it's been dead too long
Then it's like,
for us to use evidence.
you want to go fishing on my brother's boat? I heard
So
it's good
because
time.
they can't charge her for the forgery, they're gonna try to see if they can like figure out what happened to her husband, which they're not gonna do. They're not gonna be able to
Find him
any evidence.
No, of him. He's been eaten. Right?
Yeah.
He's been shit out.
Like
Like
several times
his
over.
asshole.
He's grass now.
Yeah, exactly. Like daffodils are growing out of this shit.
He's brown grass. He's where the tiger likes to shit the most.
Yeah, he's literally pushing the daisies.
Or he's up in Iceland chilling.
Yeah.
He found a house on a fjord and he said, "Fuck that bitch.
Fuck that bitch. I'm out of here."
I don't even like fishing that much anyway."
Dude, that's just so crazy. How is forgery not a crime in perpetuity? Because it keeps existing as a crime. Right?
Exactly. So like
going on, and so it's changed the fucking. You would think, what kind of law is that? Where it's like, we figured out this document was forged, but we can't invalidate it. Or you're like, what the fuck? That's nuts.
Yeah, like I think it had
Florida.
it might have had more to do with the laws of the will, but like I've never heard of no shit like that. I'm like, oh yeah, well the time's expire for you to be able to. That's like saying like you have no more change in the machine. Like that's like playing a pinball game, one ball left, and then like you get an extra ball, but it's like you can't. We're not gonna be able to release this for you.
Yeah.
Or like if you invented something and you submitted a patent for it and it was so close to someone else's patent, normally, and this does happen, that they're like, actually, you have to pay that person because you use 95% of their patent, right? So they get 95% of whatever you make off of this because they did it. It wouldn't you wouldn't get to say to them, yeah, but you approved my patent and it was doing good for about 2 years, so nullsies. There's nothing going on. I don't have to pay you because you fucked up. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Right, yeah.
Fucking purpose.
It's also the opposite of every like kid story I've ever seen. How many like Disney movies end where they find some fucking old document and they're like, and this reverses the whole thing, and everybody's just like, Cody's never died. Yeah, and then you're just like, yeah, we'll save the community center.
Yeah,
that's one of the all-time best episodes of The Simpsons is when they're coming up with the intellectual property rights stuff on Itchy and Scratchy, and they make the studio go broke, and then they discover that like actually you ripped off this drawing, and Bart and Lisa are coming up to like show the thing, and they've already figured it out for another one that was like Mr. Zip the mailman, and so they don't get to save the day with the like the will or whatever that nulls the whole thing. Like that
is one of my favorite stupid tropes. It's just like we found the Deus Ex.
Yeah,
we'll get you every time.
There's a lot of idiocracy going on right now, and like the other just like tabloid thing that was making me really interested this week was just apparently like Kylie Jenner's entire cosmetic company is about to go under, and she might be going to jail because her and her family all lied about her being the sole like what was it, this the sole like you know she's like essentially saying that she's a self-made billionaire, and like
there's no way she's going to jail.
There's another company that was marketing all of her products that own more in share value. She like forged her tax information and all, and dude, she might be going to jail. But like I think that's hilarious.
That bitch didn't forge anything. That was her mom that did it. Their mom is the business manager for all those dumbass bitches. Don't have the.
Her mom tells her who she's gonna fuck. Like, she has every controlling stake in that girl's life.
Yeah.
She's got advisors for her advisors, and they check what foot she's gonna walk out the door with to make sure the shares spike. Like, there's no such thing as a self-made billionaire, the commodity's just weird because the commodity
she was never
is
self-made anything.
but that's what I mean. The commodity is her. The commodity is her.
It is
so
her.
how can you be like, that's how big your personality can be. Like, if you ever want to quantify that, then a billionairess that shows her ass and got surgery done to her, that's a skill now. We're good at getting surgery done to ourselves. Like,
was this? Yeah, exactly. And she is the product. She's the product. And is this Kylie or is this Kendall?
It's Kylie.
It's
Kylie,
fake.
the
It's
youngest
fake
one.
face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Entirely fake face. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Is we've all seen people get plastic surgery, but she had so much plastic surgery, right?
She's a different person.
I was just like, that's not that. Like, you look completely 100% different.
She didn't even fucking need it.
Also, the
Chloe looks like some like some sunburned white woman. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
The creepiest thing to me, because I don't care whatever she wants to do with herself, it's weird, but I don't think that I've ever seen that much plastic surgery on someone that was that young. Because she had that stuff happen when she was like 20, and that's what kind of shocked me. I'm used to seeing older people, like at least when they get into their earliest would be in like their 30s, where they completely redo their face.
Yeah, they just get it stretched back.
But to see somebody who's that young, like have that, like just change their entire face. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, this is weird. I've never seen somebody this young totally change everything.
All that.
Yeah.
What was that chick from Rock of Love? Renee something, Brittany Renette, something like that.
Yeah.
The Rock of Love. She looks just like her. And they went through this, but she used to look different too. But like, it's almost as if they got the same fucking doctor. It's almost as if they went under the same knife.
They probably, pick a face,
like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Batman, bro. The fucking pig doctor, Dr. Pig or whatever, who just straight snatches people and just puts fucking faces on them and shit. I swear, bro, this is literally the fucking person. I literally feel like this is what this is, bro.
Or like, is it just like you go in and you're like, yo, I want the Bugatti, I want the Dodge Viper. Like, right. And there's like a serial number. You're just like, yeah, this is the serial number for the face.
Can I get the Lambo face?
Yeah, and they're like, yup, and they just fucking
they got a catalog like the fucking, you know, what's that? The Paul Reed Smith catalog of faces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Altered Carbon, watch that. That's a really good sci-fi show.
I'm gonna get to it, bro. I've looked at it 1,000 times, and the plot alone is like enough for me to be like, damn, that movie was like that. Damn, that show was tight. Just off the trailer.
Watch it like a movie too. I think it's like 6 episodes. It's dangerous.
Wow.
I watched it in like 2-3 sittings because I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, my roommate kept telling me about it.
That will be what separates us. Just cash. We can get whatever we want done.
Well, listen, guys. We always like to close on a light note, but I just want to remind everybody out there, especially like with everything that's going on, be safe. Also, on top of that, like, don't get shot by the police. And on top of that, you know, just live your life. So, does anybody have any closing remarks that they want to make?
Duck them rubber bullets because you will lose an eye.
Just wear goggles, but listen.
In the words, what was his name? PCU? Jeremy Piven. What's his character's name, though?
I can't remember.
I don't know. We should all just make a decision to not protest.
That shit, yeah.
We're not gonna protest. We're not gonna protest. We're gonna sit down together and see how to make long-term change in the Black community, even if it kills us the hard way by decades of long, hard labor.
Got work to do.
Yeah.
Like literally.
We're gonna come together as a group and overthrow our ineffectual and incompetent executive handlers. We're gonna get some real work done. Yeah.
Amen.
Look, I'm just gonna climb a tree and watch you guys through the window, peeping Tom style. Watch you figure it out.
Yo, okay. Before we go, just wanted to say on the bird watching guy, like everyone's like, oh, he's just a bird watcher. Like,
Fuck
who
that
trains a
guy.
guy with who trains a guy with binoculars, bro? Peeping Toms,
He's
rock
creeping on it.
binoculars, bro.
He's creeping on it. He's creeping on it.
Saying.
And he had to think of something to say, and that's why he said, your dog's off his leash. And he said, fuck you, dude, you're looking at my ass.
bro, just saying. All right.
Fuck you, dude, you're looking at my ass. I'm going to call the cops on you for being a creep. Oh, wait, I'm a bigger creep, so I'm going to choke my dog to death.
Motherfucking black guy looking at my ass, so you couldn't get a good look at it without fucking binoculars?
This guy's
As if I'm not
50
30
yards
feet
checking
away.
out- This guy at 50 yards is checking out booty. It's just like, oh my God, look at that thing. That thing. I need my
Bro.
life. And then she caught him, and he's like, oh shit, oh fuck. What do I do now? What do I do now?
Put your leash on that fucking dog.
Put your leash on that dog. Don't worry about what I'm doing right now. Fuck you.
Oh shit, yo.
I was just imagining in that entire interaction, like Rockwell is just playing in the background. Like it's fucking like you just faintly hear that.
Look. All he did was tell the truth. He said he was bird watching.
Watching birds. Yo.
Look at
Hey, yo.
I smacked
Birds are
the
watching
off
me.
that.
What was that shit? After midnight, they're watching me.
Just
they're
saying,
perfect
dog.
for each other. I hope they get together after this. Two assholes like that.
Wouldn't
They
that
need
be-
to join forces.
Oh, that would be the.
We need
Oh
a
my
They have the
god.
same
story.
last
Cornerstone
name
of the
already.
They're both Cooper. We need a feel-good story from all this shit. We need them to get together
Dude,
and
Yeah.
like make each other miserable for the rest of their
Johnny, this is the romantic comedy genre. And John, people want socially conscious art. Like John, this is the natural thing. You and I, we just write
We
up.
gotta write that.
Yeah, and then they hate one another. One of them ruins the other one's life. They get
That'd be
together.
the greatest
There
fucking
you go.
TV show I ever saw.
Exactly.
Amy
Exactly.
and what was his name? Christian. Amy and Christian, the
Yeah.
Coopers.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Greatest reality TV show ever.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
prison. I'm going
We
to prison, Daddy.
decided that we would just go with our names alone. So we got it hyphenated, and now my name is Amy Cooper.
Amy Cooper.
Amy Cooper.
Oh my God.
I would.
You know, I'm a strong woman. I don't want to give up my last name. It's been our family for generations. He doesn't even know his dad.
Dude, how do you know somebody that's named that? And when you see him, like if you see him across the street, you don't just go Cooper, like fucking like Cooper, like fucking like just yell that at him, like, Cooper, like fucking.
Oh
just
my
too
God.
easy. I don't see how you would keep yourself from.
If she
doing
was
it.
coming
I
up
would
the
do it all
road,
time.
I'd start going da 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 da.
That's funny as holy shit.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Joe, get us out of here.
Yeah.
Play us out, doctor.
Yeah, I don't know where all the statics coming from.
Bro, where all this been coming from, bro?
Thank you for joining Ancient News. We'll be back next week.
Later, y'all.
Peace, y'all.